I'm going to change up my invocation just a little bit tonight. So it's very short, so it won't take but just a minute. A devout woman once wrote thus: "In my own family, I try to be as little in the way as possible. I am satisfied with everything, and never to believe for a moment that anyone means unkindly towards me. If people are friendly and kind to me, I enjoy it. If they neglect me or leave me, I am always happy alone. It all tends to be my one aim: forgetfulness of self in order to please God." Okay, now we have the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All righty, we'll need a motion to adopt the business agenda. I don't believe we have any changes on it, so when someone's ready to make that motion, it'll be as it is presented to us.
Make a motion to adopt the business agenda as presented before us.
All right, the motion is by Mr. Bell. Do we hear a second to his motion? Second by Mr. Jackson. Is there any more discussion on the matter? There being none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, no. The agenda would be approved as it is presented in your packet. I spoke to the clerk. We do not have any unscheduled or scheduled public comment tonight, so we would move on to item 5, which is the approval of the March 4th, 2026 regular meeting minutes. Hear a motion to approve them as presented.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the March 4th, 2026 regular city council meeting minutes as drafted.
Yeah, they're gonna set up the computer, and we'll have a virtual presentation from the Withers and Ravenel firm, the team that completed the pavement condition survey. A couple weeks ago, we had a project deliverables meeting, and a copy of that presentation is provided in front of you as well for you to hold on to. That kind of describes the process and so forth. So let's take a second here to get this warmed up.
Candy Rex. Right
there. I'm gonna follow your remarks with
Sure,
a
go
couple,
ahead.
if you don't mind. As you know, in the current budget, we made funds available for. Hold on, just one second. I've got an echo behind me. As you know, in the current budget, we made funds available for a complete and comprehensive survey of all city streets. We contracted with Rivers Ravenel to perform this task. And on Wednesday, February the 25th, the city manager and I received the initial presentation of the pavement condition survey. We think you will find this report very interesting, as we did, and you will find moving forward that it will guide us in the best way to make the best use of any future funding for upgrading and improving our streets. I have provided you at each place before the meeting a presentation or a copy of the presentation that we received in case you need to refer to this information in the future. Ashley is kind enough to assist me with facilitating the virtual Teams meeting for this presentation. And in advance, before we get started, I'd like to thank Vlad Mitchev, who you see now on the screen, who's going to give you a virtual presentation of this report. And as we move through this or get to the end, if you have any questions Ashley's going to help us in getting the question over to Vlad so he possibly could answer those. And then beyond that, if you have future further questions, we'll find you an answer for those. All right.
You could give me a thumbs up and let me know if you're able to. All right, so we're going to go ahead and let you take it over. If you can say something to make sure that we can hear you as well.
Yes, good evening. Can you hear me? This is Web Meeting with Widows Avenue.
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much.
So it's myself and Zach Ward. We work on the project Roanoke Rapids mostly. And we have a couple of guys going to collect the data as well. Brief kind of introduction to myself and Zach. I've been working with the NCTOT for 16 years, since 2000, owing payments, payment management units. And then I have almost 10 years now with consultants, SNMB and Widows Avenue. Again, working with payment management, payment testing, and payment design. And I am currently the Director of Payment Operations at Widows Avenue. And Zach, just a few words.
Hey, Zach Ward. I'm Assistant Project Manager with Withers. I've been doing payment for about 6 years now. Did 3 years working with the DOT doing inspection, and then been with Withers for 3 years now doing municipal payment management consulting. And that's me, everybody.
So, can you all see my screen now?
Yes.
All right. So, starting with the project, we collected the data in kind of end of December, early January, and this is a brief shot of our team, which we'll talk about already. This one here is what we call the Circle of Success at Widows Avenue. That is a complete circle of payment management program. So that starts with funding and planning, and then you collect the data payment patient survey. Sometimes we do life cycle modeling with the software, specialized software that involves budget scenarios. Then we try to utilize all the maintenance toolbox in the availability for recommended for payment, rehabilitation, payment maintenance, and payment preservation. And as part of this, our work, we also do prepare bid documents and do construction inspection. But that would be done within the city or municipality. However, we recommend construction history to be collected for the next round of data collection, penetration data collection, and for the resurfacing projects, and to utilize what we call common corridor, which is I'm going to mention it later again, but that is kind of combining the payment condition survey data or payment projects with water, sewer, other infrastructure projects, so that you don't have cuts on your payments. Also. This is a shot of the projects we've had as company, Widows Avenue in North Carolina. Municipal projects mostly. That is our specialty, and these are particularly payment patient survey, payment management projects. As part of the project for the city of Roanoke Rapids, those were our deliverables. Today we're going to be looking at the presentation that includes all the data from the other deliverables in a synthesized format. And I can show you possibly the PCI engineer, and typically FHW recommends this payment survey data collection to be done every 2-3 years. I would say 3-4 is still good, but after 4 years, you're losing kind of a correct assessment for treatments, choice when you assess product parts, and then the report that we provide will be useful. Data analysis and project planning. The way we do this survey, that's kind of a brief overview of how we do it. And basically, if you have any questions anytime, you can ask. So we do a issue survey with a 2-person crew in a truck, driving every street segment from the city GIS system at a 5-10 miles per hour. And have this full GIS form where we enter the pay locations as we ride the roads. And the PCI number, which is the number from 0 to 100, shows up here when we enter different distress conditions on this form. So we look at that and we need to agree, both people from the team should agree if that is an accurate assessment. And if they have doubts, they turn around and drive the segment again and finalize until they agree. So we use GPS, and all this is put in a laptop electronically. For safety, use strobe lights. That's kind of how we do it. The methodology that we use to collect the pay location survey distress data is LTPT, long-term payment performance, distress definition methodology by FHWA. And those are the 7 distress types we collect. Each one is collected and assessed by severity and extent. So those are the 7 ones. For example, if you are familiar with what fatigue cracking is, that's alligator cracking, which is the structural cracking of pavements. It is collected in 3 severity types, low, medium, high, but also in 6 extent conditions, depending on percentage on the road. And that's how which one of these distresses. So Roanoke Rapids, with the city assistance with GIS, we identified that there's approximately 9103 miles, 79 miles, of which 85.27 miles is asphalt pavements, concrete is about 4.09 miles, and unpaved 1.67. And these are percentages of the system. This is a split of inventory by low and high volume. We requested the city to help us with that. So we split them to low volume states and high volume states. And high volume here, as you can see, the percentage of the system is only about 18.4%, which is actually kind of high compared with some others. It's almost 20% is high volume. We're going to come back to this table thinking about the average PCI rating. But as you can see here, the average rating for the low volume states is 71 PCI, and for the high volume states it's 73.4. Overall weighted average 71.5 PCI. And on the next slide, here we needed for the city to repair every single segment out there for what it is right now. It's not to bring it to the 100% or 100 PCI condition, but to repair it to what is needed as assessed right now at this moment. So about 17.4 million of backlog. The same thing here for concrete states. As you can notice, concrete is mostly high volume here. 2/3 of the concrete states are high volume, 1/3 is low volume. And this is the total backlog for concrete, about 1.1 million. These tables show the distress in more detail, breaking down the low, medium, high, and severity for different distresses. And that's the summary of findings for the city of Roanoke Rapids. On this one. So right here, this table, this is the nationwide accepted PCI condition state ranges, which range from PCI starting from 0 to 100, 0 being worst and 100 being the best, to very poor, fair, good to very good condition. And those are the PCI ranges for these conditions. So good and very good condition, that's from PCI 81 to PCI 100. Fair condition 65 to 81. And for the city of Roanoke Rapids, the weighted average PCI is 72, which puts it in the fair condition range, right in the middle. And this other table here on the right shows the city of Roanoke Rapids' current penetration index as compared to other cities and towns in North Carolina. And you'll notice that on this table and further on the next one, the city falls somewhere in the middle of what we see in North Carolina. This next slide shows it a little bit better. This is Roanoke Rapids. So this chart shows 79 miles on the bottom on the x-axis and then PCI condition on the y-axis. And Roanoke Rapids with about 91 miles is right here with PCI of 72. You can see that there's very few towns and cities that are above 80, pretty much impossible or very hard to see. The town of Mooresville here is 82. It's a small system and it's also fairly new. And some of this, like Holly Springs, we don't have Tidway here. Kerry is pretty high, but part of it for these towns is, besides their fairly large budgets, is that all of their system is new because of having new streets or rapid growth in the last 10 years. So all of their payments have not deteriorated yet. And most of these municipalities know that, and we try to work with them to have in mind this what we call whole sum of this payment condition index average, because these new streets that are added, for example, Tidway was adding 20 miles every year or something. These are going to deteriorate in 10 years, 15 years, and they need to be maintained. So once you increase the system, you have to have more budget, regardless of sanitation survey index being high. But speaking of Roanoke Rapids, it's kind of right in the middle. There's quite a bit of municipalities that are below 72, PCI map is showing, and I was telling you that I'm going to show you a better condition on that. This PCI map shows Roanoke Rapids, all segments, states, the entire system with the condition ranges and the miles here in each category. So as you can see, yellow is the most available power here on the map. And that is almost 50% of the entire system is in this fair condition. We have about 22 miles of the system in the good condition, very clean, very good, and some in the poor condition. That's about 17 miles in the poor condition. We do not have any in the very poor condition for the assholes. This one says no rating, and those are the unpaved roads. Going back to the presentation, the next slide shows exactly this breakdown for the city's system. We have the green bars here, asphalt pavements, and the purple ones are the concrete. We decided to put them also in this graph to see where they fall. So the 49%, the green, 49% of the asphalt roads are in this fair category between 65 and 81 PCI. Now we have 26% in the good category, 2% very good, and poor category 18. That's in percentages. The PCI map shows mileage. And then the same thing here for concrete. Again, most of them are in the fair category. This graph here is a very interesting one showing the PCI deterioration curve. And starting from hundreds, typically, or somewhere around there once the road is new, the payments deteriorate with time in some kind of a graph similar to this. So they go from very good and good condition through time to the fair condition and then poor and very poor. This one here shows that preservation treatments such as rejuvenator, teen leaf treatments, and as additional ones, patching and crack seal, can be applied on top of the curve at a lower cost than waiting for the payment to deteriorate to rehabilitation of the poor states where to repair payments cost a lot more as developers play off. So, for example, here, microsurfacing and cave seals can be done for $750 per yard. If you catch the payment at 70, 75, and when you get down to 40, 50s, you need to pay somewhere. We put it here as $40 per yard for new and overlay, but it could be 30 to 40. But it's still multiple times higher cost than if you repair it here on top of the cost. That way you extend life by having some kind of life for each one of these, and we have the numbers in the report. If you do, for example, microsurfacing, you're adding 5 to 7 years of life additional, and that curve pushes like this and then still goes down like this. So all this is to be having in mind the repair on top of the curve by using preservation treatments will save money in the long run because it extends the life of the pavements surfacing. And we'll talk with the town engineer, with Larry, about seeing some of this in actual application that towns around the triangle in North Carolina have used, like Roseville and Hickway and Corey Springs, Durham, they all use this. Also Juvenile, which is basically a surface treatment that goes up to half an inch below the surface and revitalizes the mountains in the asphalts. So it's like a chemical treatment at low cost. And then that one here, microsurface and other thin lips, basically applying a very thin lift of small aggregates and emulsion, acid emulsion on the pavement, and extend the life. We say here 6-10 years. It could be 6-10. I like to do on the conservative side, sometimes to say 5.8 or 5.7. But it's a fraction of the cost of the overlay. And some of these next slides from the city of Roanoke, just as an example of what payments look like, and it's really up to the city if there was a goal to decide how the payments want to be look like for the citizens. So this is a brand new payment with 100 PCI, and that's on 7th Street, and down is Jedlin Drive, 92. Again, in very good condition. This one here is in a good condition. 2 shots, one of Jefferson Street with PCI of 81, and one of Murphy Street, 89. That's also very good. And that's the fair condition of this. The overall weighted average for the city. So PCI range of 60 to 80. We have 7th Street, 67 on the left, and Gregory Drive, 72 PCI on the right. As a poor condition, we have examples of Henry Street with PCI 49, and William Street with PCI 51. And those are still not very low PCI because the PCI range for poor is between 26 and 63. So it's on the high end, kind of 49, 50, but they're still in this poor category. We did not have an example of very poor from the city of Roanoke, but this is an example from another municipality. That's what a very poor condition looks like with PCI 20. And for the concrete that was out there, we have a Jackson Street with PCI 67, again into the fair category. Some of the repair activities that we typically see and we recommend for our municipal clients, mention rejuvenator. This is how it's applied. Microsurfacing, this is basically the same as asphalt paver. It's just a thinner lift, and it looks a little bit different in color. That's typical new-and-new rehabilitation shot, and this is reconstruction with full depth reformation, which is also another method we recommend for the very poor condition streets. This table shows all the recommended repair activities for both low and high volume streets, and the percentages of the cost and the system. So at the end, when you look at and that's only for assholes. When you look here, the total, that's the 17.4 million of total backlog that is currently needed to repair everything to get all the money. This is kind of explained on the next chart. Pie charts. This is recommended based on current condition. Preservation correct as percentage of the total system to be asphalt. We have a total lane mass for asphalt 170, and then 63% approximately of this fall into this preservation correct category, which is the microsurfacing, and about 19% is for ECAP, and there's a percentage for the rest of them here. This is a percentage of the lane miles of the system's lane miles. But when we look at the percentage of the cost, that's where you can see the differences, because the total backlog of 17.4 million, rehabilitation accounts for 63% of that, but it was only 19% of the miles. So that shows the difference in cost. Preservation correct, which is the microsurfacing, is about 35% of the cost, and the other ones are really very big. Roadway assets, currently the city asphalt street is approximately account for 1.3 million square yards. If we were to reconstruct all of these pavements with putting brand new pavement, which is basically replacement value, that would be approximately $78 million. At current condition, this asset is estimated to be worth approximately 55.3 million. So within the current condition, the city has 55 million of roads sitting on there. Recommendations. We typically recommend increase annual roadway funding. It's very few municipalities where the goals that have enough money not achieved. And that number here, 15,000% aligned mile per year, is approximately what we find is the average cost to maintain the current condition of the system without having deteriorating further. So right now in PCR 72 rapids, there should be approximately 15,000% aligned miles per year spent in order to keep that 72 going forward. And that will be approximately 1.3 million per year budget for the city of Roanoke. Again, regular data assessment and location surveys, so we know where you are. And decisions are made on data, no guessing. Utilizing the full repair toolbox, as I mentioned earlier, having preservation treatments that are applied on the top of the deterioration curve reduces cost long term and extend the payment life. And life cycle modeling is something that all of our clients do. This is using software and predictive modeling to kind of use different budget scenarios and different treatments, composition, for example, using 80% ECAP and 20% preservation, or 60-40 and see what happens, or using a couple of budgets to predict in the next 10 or 20 years what's going to happen, how does condition change. It's a really powerful software that all of our clients do use. We those were brand new payments. I believe that was came from the triangle was repaired and then water line busted and because it was too old, and that's what happens. So you know that water lines or sewer lines that are for replacement, schedule them before the payment, rehabilitation or payment repairs, so that you don't have brand new payments being need to be repaired after utility cuts. That's another thing that we assist clients with preparation of bids and contract administration for the projects that are selected based on the penetration survey. And we also assist with construction inspection. We do recommend construction inspection full-time, particularly for rehabilitation and reconstruction projects, so that the senior the agency has their person or the consultant person monitoring the contractor and making sure that everything is done by specifications in the contract. And conclusion, this is the payment management puzzle that Winnebago Plants mentioned previously that they had no idea how to arrange pieces, and that's why we take pride of helping them to arrange these pieces into this payment management circle of success. And that concludes my presentation. Any questions?
Would the council have any questions that we could forward on to the vendor?
I have one question. Tell me again what, I didn't hear you say what PCI stands for.
Presentation index.
What?
Pavement Condition Index.
Thank you.
Yeah. So basically, one of these graphs here.
Councilman Strickland, he's going to back up to that slide for you.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I'm backing it up too quickly, but this is the penetration index from 0 to 100.
Yeah, I saw it, yeah, I got it. I just wasn't sure what that's, exactly what that stood for. I got it. Okay.
Yeah, sure.
Do we need to take any action?
No action.
Okay.
Vlad, thank you for the presentation, you and Zach. We really appreciate that.
Thank you.
Sure, you're welcome.
Thank you for the presentation.
Thank you.
And for the city council too, we have a comprehensive report and some other detail that supports, right here, we have a presentation of months of work, before you in just a few slides, but we do have electronic copies that we can make available for you to view as well, post them on the website or something, so. Yes, we have data for every street, yes. We have several significant files that it's too much to email, but we could probably make it where you can view the data that has been collected and how it's been organized and presented for us to use in decision making.
Also, if you would like to see the map that he showed us that color codes each street as to its individual condition, you can come see us and we can bring it up on our screen and show it to you, or we can get you a link to that where you can go see that. That really brings it out when you look on the map and you see the different colors. And
So you could just take the map of the city, orient it with that, and do an overlay, and you could almost pick out where the most prevalent.
absolutely, the color really helps you to see where the bad streets are. Thank you.
All right. Thank you all. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you. Bye.
Ms. Johnson, I believe you have the next item B.
Good evening. The library received a donation in the amount of $100, so I would like for you to adopt Budget Ordinance 2026.12.
Okay, we need a motion for this $100 donation.
I'll motion to adopt ordinance number 2026.12 in the amount of $100 for
All right.
donation.
Got
For
a
the
motion,
library.
motion by Mr. Stainback. Do we have a second? Second by Mr. Jackson. Any more discussion on the matter? If there is none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion will be approved.
The police department was awarded a Safe Kids grant in the amount of $400. So I'd ask you to adopt Budget Ordinance 2026.13.
Okay, we need another motion. $400.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to adopt ordinance number 2026.13 in the amount of $400 for a Safe Kids grant awarded to the police department.
Okay. The motion is by Ms. Bryant, second by Mr. Bell. Any more discussion on the matter? There being none, all in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Motion will be approved. Thank you, Ms. Johnson. City manager report is next.
Good evening, Mayor and Council, and appreciate the work tonight for the presentation of the pavement condition study. Mr. Chalker and Ms. Thomas, thank you for your help with that. Next week, on the 25th at 6 o'clock p.m., will be the next Halifax County Intergovernmental Association meeting hosted by the Town of Weldon at the 400 building at the Halifax Community College. From around City Administration and Parks and Recreation, the Senior Center has several courses and activities that are scheduled, including several computer courses that are designed to assist with the ease of use using Excel and Google Sheets, Google Forms, smartphone essentials, and advanced care planning. So I encourage you to check out the calendar of events for that. Swimming lessons started this week, and the aquatic exercise classes are still being regularly held. That includes aerobics, iron, Zumba, Tabata, and Tai Chi in the pool. And then Halifax Community College will hold a scuba class at our facility on March the 28th. Encourage people to stop by the library and view the America's 250 display. And also during the month of March, all patrons who check out a children's book will be entered into a spring raffle for an Easter prize. And upcoming events include Artfully Amazing classes, which will be held on March the 31st and April the 7th at the library. At TJ Davis, the industrial basketball league is underway. Games are on Tuesdays and Thursday evenings, and then a ping pong tournament is scheduled for the 27th of March. The maintenance division of Parks and Rec has been very busy here as the weather is warming up and spring athletics are in season. Working on ball field prep, spraying for weeds, cutting grass, and conducting some minor improvements at Emery Park restrooms, repairing a water line at Chalkyot Park, in addition to other maintenance needs. And then we'll have several Easter holiday events coming up, and I hope I have the dates on here correct, but the Senior Center will have an Easter egg hunt and social at 3 p.m. on 325, and you should have flyers before you on some of these events. An adult inclusion Easter egg hunt will be held at TJ on 326, and then a youth Easter egg hunts will be at both TJ Davis and at Challoner Recreation on Saturday the 28th of March. And they do start promptly at their start time, so we encourage everyone to get there a few minutes early. Within the police department, they continue to implement the Governor's Highway Safety Grant for traffic enforcement, with an officer specifically reporting those statistics. And the patrol division will soon be moving to a modified schedule with the same number of hours to be worked, but with an adjustment in the actual schedule and the number of days at a time working. The recent Public Works Streetlight Survey was successful. Staff documented 87 fixtures with maintenance needs, which is about half of what was reported the last time one was completed, but no matter what, the city is responsible for paying for the streetlights within the corporate limits, and so if they're not on, we want them to be on, so the bill is the same no matter what. So we encourage the reporting of those. With our Main Street program, I want to mention that our director, Ashley Thomas, submitted a downtown public safety and redevelopment project proposal to the office of Congressman Don Davis for community project funding, or CPF funding in their legislative terms. The proposal submitted seeks funding to address the structurally compromised buildings on Roanoke Avenue, specifically downtown, that are currently under demolition order, since we have several in that 200 block. And then an update from the McCrory building as of this afternoon. It says they're in talks with two banks that have interest in funding for the project. Once their board approves the funding, then they'll start underwriting, and the project will begin as soon as the financing is attained. It's our understanding that they continue to move forward with that project, just not as fast as we might hope. In the fire department, they've been conducting a lot of annual testing of hoses and truck services and so forth, repainting the stations, and then planning the annual Veterans Breakfast, which will be the first Friday in May. And then Human Resources is planning for the open enrollment of employee benefits on May 6th at Kirkwood. And then lastly, just to mention a few things about the fiscal year 27 budget planning. The departments have entered their budgets. We've had our meetings one-on-one between myself and the finance director with the department heads. During the next few weeks, we will be working together, the finance director, human resources, finance staff, and so forth, to estimate general fund revenues, salaries, benefits, and debt payments to develop the initial request for fiscal year 27 for a comprehensive look. We are still awaiting the fiscal year 27 revenue projections memo from the from the League of Municipalities. And once we receive that, as I said, it's almost like reading the tea leaves to anticipate what revenues that we may anticipate based on the statistics that are presented. As an update to the ADA standards for website accessibility, last week we had a meeting with our local vendor for website services and discussed the city's obligation and the requirement to comply with the ADA mandate by 4/26 of 2027. And we will be soliciting proposals for ADA compliant website so that we can ensure that people with disabilities can access all government online services and information. As far as the council is concerned, the next steps in our budget timeline: in the month of April, we'll be conducting the budget work sessions with the city administration, departments, and so forth. In May, you'll receive the presentation of the recommended budget and budget message for review. The next step after that is, before considering adoption, receive any comments about the budget and hold the required public hearing. And then in June, to conduct a final review and adopt the budget ordinance before July the 1st. Subject to your questions, that concludes my report this evening.
Mr. Davis, on the McCrory building, I'm assuming that the gentleman that's working on it,
Mr. Hurt.
Hurt. I'm assuming that he was asked some questions about it, and I read the answers that he gave about his progress and what he was doing. Is it possible that we could request any kind of documentation that he showed us that he had made application for the funding, that type thing, other than just telling us that he had done it? Is that legal, ethical?
In our agreement, we said we can ask for that, and I've requested some of the information and I hadn't received it yet, but I can get that.
Okay.
Under our agreement, we have every right to ask for that information to show where the monies have been sent, the ledgers.
Well, I think that would give us a little more confidence that he was moving ahead with it.
I agree.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. And on the paving, obviously that's a humongous figure that he gave us. So would it be fair to say that, the way we would probably start to try to put it into action would be, we decide on how much money we're gonna spend, and then do we seek the bidding? I couldn't gather what he's saying, or does his company seek bidding so we can see how far our money would go?
They offer additional services for pavement management and construction assistance. That would be under a separate contract, but for right now, as it is, where we have concluded the project, is they've given us the street data with the segments, the recommended treatments, and some prioritization. And so essentially what we do is consider what our budget is and where to apply the funding. So but we could contract with them under the pavement management services, where they would help prepare the bids and documents, and it's probably something that could be worthwhile to ensure compliance and get the full scope of treatment there.
But to answer your question, yes, at some point, the council would determine how much money you're going to spend on it, and then there would be bids solicited, and they could cooperate with that.
But this information that they have brought to us tonight, you said a while back, you were able to secure a grant for that study. Is that correct?
It wasn't through a grant. It was using the PAL bill state funding to complete the study. It was eligible under that, under those
So it came
revenues.
out of some of our Powell bill
Yes,
money?
sir.
Okay. Anybody else have anything?
I just saw in the presentation about the, I guess, shredded truck is going to be, is that going to be at the police department, but sponsored by Joe Story?
That will be April the 16th. I didn't include that tonight. I was waiting for the next meeting. That'll be April the 16th at Joe Story.
At Joe Story.
They have a scam jam event designed to educate and let people know about potential scamming that may occur. And then the shredded truck will be on site that day too.
That's a great service.
Yes.
I'm excited to see that.
Okay, finance?
Okay, for February, the year-to-date receipts totals about 15.4 million, and the year-to-date expenditures about 14.1 million. So revenues exceed expenditures by 2.3 million. So for February, we're in good shape, and we just need
To hold, I forgot to get that on. Just hold tight, hold on to as much of the earnings as we can.
All right. Does that conclude your report?
Yes, sir.
Is there any other business that needs to come before us tonight before we call for a motion to adjourn? Motion?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Mr. Stainback, second by Mr. Bell. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no. Adjourn.